It's hard for me to be the first one to speak. After all, we are in China. But there has been a lot of debate, I know, among scholars about what is systemic rivalry. Where does that come from? Why did the EU in 2019, it was in the spring, came out with that description? Well, the reason is simple, because it's just a fact. We were trying to describe the extremely complex relationship between EU and China. And in fact, over the years, it has become, at the same time, more diverse. We have more than 70 dialogues between China and the EU, but it has also become more complex as China has become more and more assertive on the international stage. So we described the relationship within the comprehensive strategic partnership. So it's not rivalry or. We have a strategic relationship, which is a global framework, in which the EU-China relations have three different aspects. The first aspect, and I want really to underline that, is to be partners. The second aspect is we are competitors. And the third aspect is in many fields of global governance, we are systemic rivals. Now, beware, systemic doesn't mean systematic. And rival doesn't mean enemy. These are very different concepts. Systemic refers to systems of governance. And clearly, for instance, I just take one example. We believe in separation of powers, independence of the judiciary, autonomy of parliament. China doesn't. But that's just a fact, a constitutional fact. There is no separation of powers in China. We believe in an independent press, totally independent. The international organizations and defends its position, very legitimate positions from its point of view. Well, we have to agree to disagree. And there is a fight, there is a battle, let's be honest about it, that we call a battle of narratives or a battle of systems, a battle of governance.
So thank you very much for inviting me to this interesting discussion about the EU-China relationship and about the difference of these EU-China's interconnection. As Ambassador Chapuis just explained, that EU-China's relations is very complex and with several dimensions that can include competition, rivalry, and cooperation. So I think that I agree basically with this analysis about those different dimensions of EU-China's relations. I have to argue for some of your interpretation about the systematic rivalries. You said that China has no clear separation of power. Well, I think that historically speaking, China made great efforts and great progress in trying to have a sort of separation of powers. Otherwise, there was no Supreme Court, or there was no judicial system, or no parliamentary system, or no executive power. There will be a combination of all those things. You said that, oh, of course, you have also a judicial system, a legislative power and executive power, but all under Chinese Communist Party's rule. Even in Western countries, in France, as well as in the United States, it happens that one party controls all these powers. It happens. Especially in the United States, a Republican could control at the same time the majority of Supreme Court, the majority of at the Parliament, and the White House. It happened. So you cannot say that it's under one party rule. So since Chinese Communist Party is the ruling party, so China has no separation of power. China has its own judicial system. China has its own legislative power. China has its own executive power. At least, institutionally speaking, there is a separation of power in China. And then, on the separate aspect of these missions of the United Nations, I think China have a good pupil or a good student of UN system. We tried to abide by those commitments to the UN, and China made a lot of efforts to help UN to fulfill its missions, not only in China, but also across the world. China made a lot of contributions to put into practice the objectives set by UN. Let to mention, China is a great contributor to UN's peacekeeping forces around the world. China is contributing to a lot of UN's affiliations budget. For example, UNESCO, when the United States decided to withdraw from UNESCO, so China fulfilled the void to help UNESCO to continue to implement its education and training programs in Africa. All this is China's contribution to all this. So China is also a good student of the international system. I think that you should put China into the real context. China has been excluded from the international system for the beginning of the People's Republic of China's founding. And then China has been absorbed into this international system created by Westerners. But then China have learned quickly how to deal with these international duties and how to abide by those commitments. And in this regard, I think if we compare China's success with other countries, China made a huge, tremendous progress. You should not deny Chinese progress in all aspects.
I didn't deny anything. Just let me correct this point. China is the founding party to the Washington Treaty of the United Nations.
Yes, huh? but China was represented by Kuomintang.
Well, it was China.
Yes, China has Chinese communist delegates was in Chinese delegations in part of the building of the United Nations. So, and some representative of Chinese Communist Party have been contributing to some of the definition of UN Charter and UN, including in the third pillar, protection of human rights. At the beginning, Chinese Communist Party has contributed somehow to this third pillar.
So, just to say that the UN is not a Western creation.
No, not because China.
Because China was on the good side of history.
Yes, Chinese party. Yes, China was a victory country of the Second World War, so China had been included into the definition of the framework. But I think when you said that multilateralism is something sacrosanct in European or in EU's conception, while China has taken a somehow opportunist attitude towards...
No, not opportunist. I would say selective.
Selective attitude towards multilateralism. Somehow I don't agree, because you took some Chinese decisions and interpreted it as a unilateral decision. But that's the way how China contests these so-called unilateral decisions. Because China said that something such as South China Sea issues and so on, because some part of the South China Sea issues were distorted because the issue has been raised against some historical recognition. The historical recognition is that those small rocks and islands, all those things, have been considered as part of China for many, many years. And then, all of a sudden, you wanted to discuss, to debate the sovereignty of these rocks and islands. Of course, that's not international inhabit.
China identifies European Union as three, one market, two markets, second, two forces, and two civilizations. It's very neutral. It's not bad or good, but Europeans, you say, adversary, it's a value-added discrimination. Like Confucius says, great man seeks harmony, little man seeks differences. So you always eyes on the differences, different systems. Even the US, now the political system also different with the Europeans, like Trump, domestically, internationally, actually. China and Europe actually share more values, multilateralism, global governance, and all this. Trump, they're different with you, even domestically, populism, the value to the traditional Americans, principles of the division of labor, all this. So that's first the differences. So we should think about the common ground, and not just put aside the differences. Secondly, you say multilateralism. Multilateralism that on the base of the sovereignty, respect the sovereignty principle. European Union also seeks the European Union's sovereignty, digital sovereignty, European Union's autonomy, strategic autonomy. So this is, I think that we agree with each other. As Taiwan, Hong Kong, Xinjiang, and even South China Sea, not all the South China Sea issue, only some territory disputes issue. We think this is this is sovereignty issue. About the so-called freedom of navigation, about the high sea, this COC negotiation with ASEAN, we learn from you. So this is definitely not contradict with the multilateralism. Multilateralism should respect your sovereignty, not interfere in domestic affairs. Even European Union also argue. So there's no so many differences, multilateralism. Thirdly, you mentioned about the Committee of Shared Future with what kind of a system? Communist party system or liberal system, you say like that. We say is a for humankind system. We never say the Committee of Shared Future of the Communist Party system. No, we redefine the communist. Traditional communism is more like revolution, socialism, capitalism, they're fighting each other. We were set at the end of the capitalism. So now we change because the traditional Chinese culture is more seeks the harmony. So Xi Jinping thought on the socialism with the Chinese characteristics as part of the Chinese traditional culture, the culturalized of Karl Marxism. Even Karl Marxism we learn from you. So it's not your Karl Marxism. Now it's localized, China-ized. It's a Chinese traditional culturalized communism. That's the Committee of Shared Future. Whether you're socialism, capitalism, whether you believe what kind of God, even you don't believe God, under the haven, this is a big system for human on the haven. It's not the different nation state of Christianity or Catholic or even what kind of religion. So I think that's misunderstanding of Committee of Shared Future. We should go beyond the traditional disputes, religions, ideology, and the political systems to seek the great harmony. Taihe, like Taihe, supreme harmony. So under the haven. So that's I think even the Communist Party. That's the reason we, Committee of Shared Future written in the Constitution of the Communist Party. But yes, it's politicalized. No, Communist Party we learn from you, but communism is not a party in China. Because this is for public. All the parties are for private interests. So we learn from you, including my clothes. I dress at Western. My name, People's Republic of China, Renmin University people. This is all a European concept. Karl Marxism is European. And what year of this year? This year is Jesus Christ, born 2019. It's not Confucius' birthday, right? So everything is yours, right? So we share the same system with you. But you say now you are adversary, you are different system, and then bash China for that. But what we do is to make this system values to adapt the local condition. to adapt with that. So that reason, like Belt Road Initiative, we learn the high standard, high technology from you, and then practice in China, and then we can share this experience to Africans, to the developing countries. Otherwise, they adapt your high level of standard cannot match the local condition, and then that's the trap of the foreign assistance in Africa. So I think China is a bridge, is a converter to connect your system high level to match the local level developing country system. So you should appreciate of China that kind of system, not a bash or blame of that kind of system. So we live under the United Nations system. Yes, we need in the human being systems, and then we shall learn from each other, not just confront each other. Of course, better than the United States. United States want to build another system to de-Chinaalize, decouple with China. We still live in the same haven, same roof of planning. So in this regard, China-EU relations, still the debate, confrontation between brothers, not between the enemies.
Brothers can be rivals.
Because we learn Karl Marx, we learn socialism from you. You are the teacher, great revolution, blah, blah, blah. So that's U.S. image in China now totally destroyed by the Trump. But Europeans still, we have good position, good views of Europe. When you think about China as a systematic rival, this is make China so disappointed. I love you so much. I never say bad things, but you say this is a rival. But when Americans say China is enemy, this is, Chinese said, oh, that day finally happened. Because US always want to find enemy. After the Soviet Union, and then maybe Bin Laden. After Bin Laden, now China. So that's zero-sum game, religion thinking, but Europe is not that way. You are also very circular. So China, we share many, many similarities, we share values, definitely with you as a circular civilization, multilateral, as you said, and also